The reflection. That wasn't me. I don't expect anyone to believe me. Hell, I barely believe it myself most days. But every time I look into a mirror, I remember that house and that thing in the glass. This happened about 6 years ago. I just moved to upstate New York after a rough breakup. Found this old duplex that was way too cheap to pass up. Run down, but livable. Hardwood floors that creaked like bones. Plumbing that screamed when you ran hot water, and a constant draft no matter how tightly I shut the windows. But I was broke, alone, and tired of couch surfing, so I signed the lease. The bedroom had this full-length mirror bolted to the closet door. It looked antique, wooden frame, slightly warped glass. I liked the vintage vibe at first, but after a couple of nights, I started noticing small things. When I walked by the mirror, sometimes my reflection didn't move exactly in sync. It was just a split-second delay, like a lag. Once or twice, I thought I saw something move in the background of the reflection, but nothing was there when I turned around. I chalked it up to being overtired. I was still adjusting to the new place, new job, and honestly, I was drinking more than I should have. But one night, I woke up around 3 a.m., completely freezing. Like I could see my breath kind of cold. The window was shut, but the room felt like a meat locker. I sat up in bed and instantly looked toward the mirror. There was someone standing in it. Not in my room, in the mirror. It wasn't me. This person, thing, was tall and thin, with sunken features and eyes that were just black voids. No whites, no pupils, just black. And it was staring at me. Head slightly tilted, like it was trying to understand what it was looking at. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. I just sat there staring back. Eventually, I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, and just like that, the figure was gone. No one in the room. Mirror back to normal. I told myself it had to be a dream, some vivid nightmare. Maybe sleep paralysis. The next day, I took the mirror off the door and dragged it to the basement. Thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A few days later, I noticed a handprint on the bathroom mirror after a shower. Nothing weird, except it was inside the glass. Not on the surface. No amount of wiping would clean it. It was like it was behind the mirror somehow. The next day, it was back. Same print, same position. Then things got worse. I started avoiding mirrors altogether. But one night, brushing my teeth, I saw it again. My reflection was just wrong. I was frozen, toothbrush in hand, but my reflection turned its head slightly, and then smiled. A wide, slow, deliberate smile. One I wasn't making. I dropped the toothbrush and ran. Didn't sleep in that house again. I called in sick the next day, rented a truck, and moved out that weekend. Left the mirror, the bed, half my clothes, didn't care. I just wanted out. To this day, I cover mirrors when I sleep. I avoid looking at my reflection for too long, because sometimes late at night I swear I still catch a glimpse of something watching me. And every so often, I see that smile again. And I know I didn't make it. My daughter has been standing in the hallway every night. I think something is wearing her. I'm not quite sure where I should be posting this. I've tried to contact the authorities, and they laughed it off as me being overly stressed. One officer actually handed me a card for a trauma therapist. No one seems to believe me. Not my sister, not Emily's school counselor, not even my ex. I don't know where else to turn, so I'm posting it here. Hopefully somebody understands, or at least knows something, and can give me advice before it gets worse. It started subtly. Emily, 10 years old, braces, freckles, an obsession with frogs and ancient myths. Used to be a restless sleeper. She'd toss, mumble unintelligible things, sometimes whispering about the Black Kingdom under the roots, or the Lady in the Wall. I caught her once murmuring a name in her sleep. Argantus. I thought maybe she was inventing stories, but 3 weeks ago she stopped wandering and started watching. I first noticed her standing in the hallway around 2:14 a.m., not moving, not making a sound. Her face was obscured by shadows, but her jaw hung slack, like no muscles were attached, then snapped shut abruptly, like she was chewing something dry. I wrote it off as stress, but then it happened again the next night, and the night after that, and after that. Concerned, I installed a baby monitor in her room. For a while, it was quiet, but at exactly 2:12 a.m. she'd sit up, slowly, and stare directly at the vent above her bed. Not move, not blink, just stare. I called in an HVAC tech, Mike. Good guy, came out the same day. After 30 minutes, he came down from the attic, shaking his head. System's spotless. Looks and smells clean as a whistle, he said, wiping his hands on his overalls. But the vent over her bed, you might want to take a look yourself. Just weird. So I did. I unscrewed the vent cover and stuck my phone flashlight in. About 2 feet in, something had carved symbols into the metal. Not just symbols, tally marks, dozens of them, deep grooves scratched in 3s, 4s, sometimes 5s, always clustered close. Like someone, or something, was keeping count. Later that night, I heard Emily whispering. When I asked her who she was talking to, she looked up at me, her voice too calm. "You interrupted," she said. He was almost done. I asked who he was. She smiled, not the way a child smiles. It was wrong, rehearsed, borrowed. "He lives in the quiet," she said, and then went back to bed as if nothing happened. That night, I dreamt of our living room. But something was wrong. The walls were sweating, and every photo frame was filled with static. In the center stood a figure, long-limbed, slack, stooped, wrapped in something that looked like skin but shimmered like oil. Its face was a void. Not a hole, just a space where a head should be. It moved like it remembered being human, but had forgotten how to mimic us properly. It stepped forward, slow and lurching. And when it spoke, its voice was a sick blend of tones. Child, old man, woman, mechanical glitch. Vis ne im redire? I don't speak Latin, but I looked it up. Do you want her back? I woke, gasping, and Emily was sitting up again, mouth slightly open, whispering a single word over and over. Dissectio, dissectio. I found the word in a medical dictionary. Latin. It means dissection, or anatomical separation. I think that's what it wants to do. I think that's what it's been doing. And now, it's not even hiding. Update, 4:09 a.m. She's sitting in the hallway now, not standing, sitting, knees drawn up to her chest, rocking, just slightly. Her mouth is moving, but I can't hear anything. There's something behind her. Not touching her, but it's around her. A shadow stretching from the ceiling down across the wall like a curtain pulled halfway back. It isn't shaped right. Too tall, too thin, and it bends where things shouldn't bend. I tried to look away, to go back into my room, but I couldn't move. My legs wouldn't respond. Then Emily turned her head. Not all the way, just enough to see me from the corner of her eye. She hasn't blinked. Not once. Not since this started. And I just realized something else. She's still whispering that word. Only now. It's not her voice anymore. I look in the box. When I was 8, I found a diorama box. You may have seen one before, or even made one for school or scouts or whatever. I had no clue what it was called at the time. Just a long wooden box with a circular hole on each side and several small diamonds of frosted glass embedded across the top. I found it behind the abandoned Stonebrook Middle School, sitting like a gently placed present on a pile of broken pallets and old insulation. Even not knowing what it was, I could tell it was special. There was no way to open it, and its weight, its design, even the way the wood was carved, spoke of something out of the ordinary. And then I put my eye up to the box. Sunlight flowed and fractured from the opaque glass above, sending soft tendrils of luminescence curling up the walls and around the figures inside. I was seeing inside a house, probably the living room. The people were abstractions, just barely recognizable as people at all, and yet somehow I knew about them. That one was the mother, that one the daddy. There were a couple of kids, and on the arm of the couch, a gray lump that I thought was a cat. All of them seemed to be sitting together, watching a box that I figured was a television. I didn't get what the point of any of it was, but it was weird and fancy, so it felt like treasure to me. I took it home with some nervousness, afraid that my parents might think I stole it and take it away. When my dad noticed it that night, he asked where I'd found it. I knew enough to lie and say the woods instead of behind Stonebrook. Something bad had happened there when I was little, and even now I think most people avoid it. He considered me a moment and then picked it up, turning it over in his hands before putting his eye up to one of the holes. Huh, that's a weird thing, isn't it? Guess it's game night, huh? Ruffling my hair, he handed it back. Good find, sport. You'll be a pirate yet. I grinned with relief, but behind that was a growing sense of confusion. Game night? I waited until I was back in my bedroom, and then I turned on the bedside light and looked in the box again. It had changed. Instead of being in a living room, now they were gathered around what looked like a dining room table. Still, a father and mother and 2 kids. I could even see the cat sleeping on a sideboard against the far wall. And on the table, tiny but distinct, was a board game. I didn't tell anyone about the change, of course. They'd think I was pretending or lying at best. At worst, they'd believe me and take it away. Instead, I looked at it every day, sometimes for hours. I was smart enough to hide how obsessed I was with it, though sometimes it was hard. I didn't want to miss anything after all. The scenes were always in the same house, but it would move from room to room, and the number of people and pets would change over time too. But I definitely felt like it was always the same people and house overall. Most of the time, for all the magic of the changes, the scenes themselves were pretty mundane. Just a family living their lives, doing the things they do. Tiny statutes devoid of features that somehow managed to always tell me exactly what was going on and how they felt about it. I remember when the son got into a fight in school, when the daughter had her first ballet lesson, the times the husband and wife fought, and the times they all came together to celebrate or comfort one another. When I was 16, I saw a change coming over the father. He wasn't sleeping much at all, and when he did, it was sitting up in a chair away from his wife. They seemed to be fighting more. Everyone spent less time together, and within a few months I started to worry they might split up. The scenes didn't change every day, so I had to wait until the weekend to see the latest developments. The father was holding the mother, and the children were hugged in around them too. I actually cried a little when I saw that. Whatever he'd been going through, I guessed they'd gotten through it. Then, 2 weeks later, he murdered them all. The night it happened, he was back on the sofa, a laptop in his lap. I could tell it was late at night, even with the light streaming in. The shadows thrown against the floor and walls looked like demons surrounding him, and as I watched, wanting and unable to comfort him, I saw something tiny appear beside him on the sofa. It was a knife. Despite all my untold hours of watching the thing, this is the only time I ever saw it change. The movement of the shifts hurt my brain to the point that I started pulling away after the second one, and not just because of what happened in the scenes. He goes to the son's room first and stabs him in the ear, bearing down on the blade with his weight. Then the daughter. He cuts her throat and belly open. The scene actually shifted twice there to make sure I saw him make both wounds. Then there was the wife. That scene shifted more slowly over the next 12 hours or so. When the final transition came, you couldn't tell she had ever been a person. Just bits of abstract someone. Spread across the bed and floor and even the walls. After that, I never looked in the box again. I bought a safety deposit box where it has stayed ever since. You might think I should have destroyed it or thrown it away, but I couldn't quite manage it. Somehow, I think I knew that. Well, even though I was done with it, it wasn't done with me. That became very clear a few weeks ago. I haven't been myself. Terrible dreams and worse thoughts. I don't sleep. I fly off the handle at the smallest thing. Once I realized that I recognized what I was doing, it only made it that much worse. The past few days I've really tried to do better, but I can feel it isn't going to last. I have to do something. My plan had been to write this all down, read back through it, and if it didn't seem totally insane, give it to my wife in the morning. It might not make sense to her, but at least she would know what was on my mind. Except, just now, I've seen it next to me. The knife. I've never seen it before. Well, not up close and not for a very long time. I tell myself I have to get rid of it, get it away from me, away from my family, but I can't quite do that either. Maybe it's because it's not really my choice, or because it's what I really want. Or maybe it's because of what I just saw. Because I did get up just now for a minute and try to throw it away, even if it was just into the yard, so long as it wasn't in sight or arm's reach. I opened the front door and was rearing back to throw the knife away when I saw it, hovering among the murky nighttime shadows of the tree line. It was an eye. Monstrously gigantic, it looked this way and that, both terrifying and terrifyingly familiar. Because I knew that eye, didn't I? Knew the monster it belonged to well. It was me.